Dear students, so start our lecture number 9, that is some numerical on free damped vibration, and we are going to see the next topic of single degree of freedom system of free vibration, that is free damped vibration with viscous damping. Free damped vibration with dry friction damping. In last previous 2 to 3 lectures, we have seen the free damped vibration with viscous damping. Now in this lecture we are going to see free damped vibration with dry friction damping. So let us start the numerical on free damped vibration. So in lecture number 8 we have seen 2 examples. Now we are going to start with our third example in free damped vibration. So the example is an underdamped system shock absorber is to be designed. So this is underdamped system. So is to be designed for an automobile. It is required that the initial amplitude to be reduced to 1/16th in one cycle. So for example, initial amplitude is x, then after one cycle there should be a reduction in amplitude by 1/16th into x. Now the mass of automobile is given, that is 200 kg, and damp period of vibration, that is TP, is given. Damp period of vibration is given, that is TP is equals to 1 second. Find the stiffness, we have to find the stiffness and damping constant for shock absorber. Now generally this type of problem is asked in exam up to 6 marks. So what is the problem? It is problem based on your logarithmic decrement, because underdamped system, so it is based on logarithmic decrement. So what is your problem? An underdamped system shock absorber is to be designed for an automobile. It is required that initial amplitude to be reduced by 1/16th in one cycle. So x0 upon x1. Now we are going to take the amplitude of x0, that is initial is as 1, that is unity, and after one cycle, means x0 after 1 there is x1. So after one cycle the amplitude should be reduced to 1/16th. So 1 upon the amplitude reduction is 1/16th in second cycle. So the ratio of x0 upon x1, that is 1 upon 1/16th, it becomes 16. So this is the ratio initial to final amplitude, that is the 16. So I will, if you have not understood this, I will take another example. Now for example, there is initial amplitude. I will take initial amplitude as 16. Now we have to reduce this 16 amplitude by 1/16, means 16/16 is 1. So x0 upon x1 is 16/1, that is the 16. So this is your the x0 upon x1. Now the mass of automobile is given, that is m is equals to 200 kg. Now number of cycle is also there, n is equals to 1 cycle. Number of cycle, n is equals to 1. Then damp period of vibration, that is TP, is given for a damped vibration, that is 1 second. Now from that we can find out the logarithmic decrement. Now there is the definition for logarithmic decrement or formula for logarithmic decrement. Now there are two formulas. One is delta is equals to 2 pi zeta upon square root of 1 minus zeta square, and second one is delta is equals to 1 upon n log to the base e x0 upon xn. Now in that cycle, in that problem, there is only one cycle. So value of n is 1 and value of x0 upon xn. So xn value is again 1. So we know that the formula delta is equals to 1 upon n log to the base e x0 upon xn. Now the number of cycle is 1. So xn becomes x1. So 1 upon 1 log to the base e x0 upon x1. So log to the base e of 16. So that value becomes 2.7725. That is 2.77.25. So this is the logarithmic decrement. Now from that logarithmic decrement, we can find out the value of zeta, because we know that delta is equals to 2 pi zeta upon square root of 1 minus zeta square. This is another formula of logarithmic decrement. So we have find out first logarithmic decrement. Now next we are going to find out the value of zeta, that is damping factor. So damping factor, what is the formula for delta? Delta is equals to 2 pi zeta upon 1 minus zeta square. What is delta is equals to 2 pi zeta upon 1 minus zeta square. If I squaring both sides and take this denominator to this left hand side, so we get delta square into 1. So that becomes delta square minus delta square into zeta square is equals to this value is a square, it is 2 pi, that is 4 pi square zeta square. So this steps like this. So this step is converted to this step by squaring, and the right hand division term goes to this side into multiplication. So again, if you consider, now we have to take zeta square common. So we will take this value, that is minus zeta square delta square, into this side. So that becomes plus. So zeta square common means the remaining term is 4 pi square delta square. And from that we can find out the zeta square. So by dividing this, we get the value of zeta square, and the value of zeta is delta upon square root of 4 pi square delta square. So if we have find out the value of delta, then we can find out the value of zeta by directly putting this equation, that is zeta is equals to delta upon square root of 4 pi square delta square. So if we put the value of delta in this equation, that is delta, that is 2.7725 divided by square root of 4 pi square plus 2.772 square. So from that we get the value zeta. Now that value zeta is 0.4037. Now your system is given under damped, so the value of zeta, it should be less than 1. It should be less than 1. Now we get damping factor. Now we have to find out stiffness and damping coefficient. We have to find out stiffness and damping coefficient. Now how we will find out? Now again we have given the damping period of vibration. So what is the damping period? That is Tp is given as 1. So omega d is equals to, for damped vibration, omega d is equals to 2 pi upon Tp. So 2 pi upon 1, it becomes 6.28 radian per second. So this is omega d. Now we know that there is relation between omega d and omega n. Now what is that relation? Omega d is equal to square root of 1 minus zeta square into omega n. Now we know the value of omega d, and also we know the value of zeta. So from that we can find out the value of omega n. So the value of omega n is nothing but this term goes to this side, so dividation. So omega d upon square root of 1 minus zeta square. So 6.28 divided by square root of 1 minus 0.4037 square. So from that your value of natural frequency becomes 6.86 radian per second. Now if we get the value of omega n, we can find out the k and m. Now the mass is given of automobile, so we can find out the value k. So we know that omega n is equal to square root of k by m. Now the value of mass is 200 and value of omega n is 6.86 radian per second. So after putting value of omega n at 6.86 and mass as 200, we can find out the stiffness of the spring, and that stiffness of the spring is 9423.45 Newton per meter. Now we have find out first logarithmic decrement, then we have find out the damping ratio, and third we have find out the spring stiffness. Now we have to find out the damping coefficient. Now for finding out the damping coefficient, we have to find out first CC, that is critical damping coefficient. Now the formula for critical damping coefficient is 2m omega n. So we are going to use this formula, that is 2m omega n, that is zeta is equals to C by Cc. So the value of Cc is 2m omega n. So zeta is known to us, that is 0.4037 is equals to C by, what is the value of Cc? Cc is 2m omega n. So 2m is 200 kg and omega n is 6.86. So from that we get the damping coefficient C as 1107.75 Newton second per meter. Now this is very important problem which is asked in either in semester exam or either end semester exam. We have to find out the stiffness and damping coefficient. For that, the number of cycles is given and initial amplitude is reduced to some 1 by 16th cycle, 1 by 8th cycle, 1 by 12th cycle, any number that can be changed. So from that we have to find out the value, or we have to find out your solution, that is stiffness, and second one is we have to find out your damping coefficient. Now this is in linear vibration, that is in either longitudinal vibration or transverse vibration. Same problem that can be asked in torsional vibration also, because your only the difference is there. In case of linear vibration, there is the ratio of x0 upon x1, that is ratio of linear displacement to the linear displacement, that is initial linear displacement x0 to the final linear displacement xn. So I will take the next problem which is on torsional vibration. So this is the problem number 4. I have covered almost all variety of problem in that unit. So equation number 4. Now this is torsional vibration. So a disc of torsional vibration, disc of torsional pendulum has mass moment of inertia, that is I is given, mass moment of inertia, that is 0.06 kg meter square. So this is your I. A disc of torsional pendulum has mass moment of inertia of 0.06 kg meter square. The brass shaft is attached to there. The brass shaft is attached to it, having 100 mm diameter. Having 100 mm diameter and length is 400 mm long. 100 mm diameter and your length is 400 mm. Now when pendulum is vibrating, it is observed that at same side of the rest position, means the value of, in linear vibration we can say it is x1, x2, x3. So I will same put but value but in degrees. So when pendulum is vibrating, the observed amplitude on same side of the position for successive cycles are 9 degree, 6 degree and 4 degree. These are the three successive amplitude, because it is torsional vibration. So successive amplitude will be in degree, that is 9 degree, 6 degree and 4 degree. Now what we have to find out the value of logarithmic decrement. Then damping torque per unit velocity. It is called as damping coefficient in torsional vibration, that is CT. Now damping coefficient in linear vibration or longitudinal vibration, it is nothing but the damping force per unit velocity. So similarly, in case of damping torque per unit velocity, it is nothing but your CT, that is damping coefficient in torsional vibration. And we have to find out periodic time of vibration. Assume that the modulus of rigidity is 4.4 into 10 raised to 10 Newton per meter square. So rigidity is given, that is value of G is given. What would be the frequency if disk removes from viscous vibration? Means there is no value of zeta. Means there is no fluid in the displacement. Means this system will be undamped system. So what will be the given? So given condition, given data. So first, mass moment of inertia is given, that is I, that is 0.06 kg into meter square. Next, the brass shaft is attached to it, having 100 mm diameter. So diameter is 100 mm, so that is 0.1 meter. Then again length is given, L is equals to 400 mm, so it is in meter is 0.4 meter. Now it is observed that the amplitude of same side of the rest position for successive amplitude. So we are starting with x0, x1 and x2. So x0 is 9 degree, x1 is 6 degree, x2 is 4 degree. So from that we can find out the any two successive amplitude ratio. Any two successive amplitude ratio. So x0 upon x1, that is 3 by 2. Again x1 upon x2, it is same 3 by 2. So we know that delta is equals to 1 upon n log to the base e x0 upon x1. Now I have taken the ratio x0 upon x1. So there is only one cycle. So 1 upon 1 log to the base e x0 upon x1. If I have to take the x0 and value of x2, that is x0 is 9 degree and value of x2 is 4 degree, then we have to take the n number of cycle as 2. So I have taken x0 and x1, so number of cycle is 1. So 1 upon 1 log to the base e x0 upon x1. So x0 upon x1 is nothing but the 3 by 2. So from that we get the value of delta, that is logarithmic decrement. Delta is equals to 0.4054. Now if we get value of delta, from that we can find out the value of zeta. Now what is that zeta? Zeta is equal to delta square upon 4 pi square delta square. Sorry, there is will be delta. Sorry. So I am going with last example. So what is value of zeta? So zeta is nothing but the delta upon square root of 4 pi square delta square. So there is no square term. So this is extra is there. So what is value of zeta? Zeta is delta upon square root of 4 pi square plus delta square. So if we put that value, we get the value of zeta as 0.0642. Now we get zeta. Now we know that torsional stiffness KT. There are two formula for KT, that is torsional stiffness of shaft. Either first one is torque per unit angular displacement, that is T by theta, and T by theta is nothing but the Gj upon L. Now the modulus of rigidity is given, that is 4.4 into 10 raised to 10. Now J is polar moment of inertia, and that value of polar moment of inertia is pi by 32 into d raised to 4. Pi by 32 d raised to 4. So pi by 32, d is your 0.1 raised to 4 upon length. Length is 0.4. So from that we get the torsional stiffness. It is 1.08 into 10 raised to 6. So this is the value of KT. Now if we have calculated value of KT, then we can find out the value of omega n, because KT is known to us and I is also known to us. So we get value of omega n. So the value of omega n is equals to square root of KT upon I. So the KT is 1.08 into 10 raised to 6, and the value of I is 0.06. So from that, the natural frequency is 4242.64 radian per second. Now, from that we can find out the zeta. Now, zeta is nothing but the C upon Cc. Now, in case of torsional vibration, in case of linear vibration, there is mass, that is Cc is 2m omega n. But in case of torsional vibration, mass is replaced by mass moment of inertia, that is I. So, zeta is C upon 2I omega n. So put the value of zeta as 0.0642 C upon 2 into 0.06 into omega n. So from that we get value of Ct as, this value becomes Ct in case of torsional vibration. So we get value of Ct as 32.73 Newton second meter per radian. Now from that, the value of omega n, we can find out the value of omega d. So that is, this is the expression for omega d. So omega d is equals to square root of 1 minus zeta square into omega n. So that is equals to 4233.86 radian. So from that we get the value of omega d. And if we get the value of omega d, we can find out the time period. So time period is equals to 2 pi upon omega d. So this is the time period. Tp is equals to 0.001486 seconds. Now, we have to find out the frequency if the disc is removed from viscous fluid. Means there is no value of zeta. So, if the value of zeta is 0, then there is a frequency that is called as natural frequency. There is no damping is there, means this is undamped frequency. Now, natural frequency of undamped free vibration is, we know that is in Fn. So Fn is equals to omega n upon 2 pi. So from that we get the value of Fn as 675.24 Hertz. So this omega d, it is also can be calculated in terms of Hertz, that is Fd. So Fd is equals to omega d upon 2 pi. So that is also a frequency in Hertz also. So this is about the torsional vibration problem. There is another problem, the third problem, the last fifth problem. Now consider what is the problem statement. So start with our problem statement. So two slabs of isolators, one is natural rubber and another is felt. So that are given. So either you can see the diagram. So there is natural rubber and felt are kept between solid mass and floor. So this is your floor and this is solid mass having 10 kg of mass. Solid mass of 10 kg and floor as shown in figure. So guys, there is two slab of isolator. That is, one slab is natural rubber and second slab is felt. And this two slab of isolator is kept between solid mass of 10 kg and floor. So floor is one sided and solid mass of 10 kg is in another side of the vibration isolator. Now the natural rubber slab has stiffness. So this having stiffness. So this slab having stiffness of 3000 Newton per meter and viscous damping coefficient, that is K is given and C is given for natural rubber. That is the viscous damping coefficient of 100 Newton second per meter. Also the felt slab has the stiffness of 12,000 Newton per meter and an equivalent viscous damping coefficient is 330 Newton second per meter. So for both slab, that is natural rubber slab and felt slab, the value of K, that is stiffness, and C are given. So I will take this natural rubber slab as 1 and this felt as 2. So K1 is given, that is 3000 Newton per meter and C1 is 100 Newton second per meter. Similarly, K2 is 1200 Newton per meter, 12,000 Newton per meter, and C2 is 330 Newton second per meter, and mass is given 10 kg. Now determine the undamped and damped natural frequency in the vertical direction. Neglect the mass of isolator. So we have to find out undamped frequency, that is nothing but the omega n, and damped frequency, it is nothing but the omega d. So we have to find out undamped natural frequency and damped natural frequency in the system. So this is your diagram, that is actual system. This is your diagram, that is actual system. M 10 kg, this is natural labor slab, and this is your failed slab, and this is the floor. Now this actual system is converted into your mathematical model like this. So there is two springs are in series and two damping coefficient are in series, that is K1, K2, C1, C2, and this is your floor. This is your floor. This is your failed part, and this is your natural rubber part. So failed part having stiffness K2 and damping coefficient C2. Similarly, the rubber part having damping coefficient C1 and stiffness K1. Now we have to convert this actual system into an equivalent system in which there is floor. Now this is equivalent stiffness, that is Ke, and this is equivalent damping coefficient, that is Ce, and mass. Now to find out equivalent stiffness Ke, now this two stiffness, that is K1 and K2, are in series. Similarly, to find out the damping coefficient Ce, this C1 and C2 are in series. So we have to find out first equivalent the stiffness and equivalent damping coefficient. So equivalent stiffness is given by, when the springs are in series, this 1 upon K is equals to 1 upon K1 plus 1 upon K2. So 1 upon K is equals to 1 upon 3000 plus 1 upon 12,000. So take inverse, so we get the value of K is 2400 Newton per meter. Similarly, we can find out the equivalent damping coefficient C, that is when two damper are in series. That is formula is same. So 1 upon C is equals to 1 upon C1 plus 1 upon C2. So that is 1 upon 100 plus 1 upon 300. So that value becomes, and that 1 upon C. So from that we get value of C as 76.74 Newton second per meter. So we have found out the value of Ke, that is equivalent spring stiffness, and we have found out the value of C. Now to find out the undamped natural frequency, that is omega n or oblique Fn. So the value of omega n, we know that for undamped natural frequency, the square root of Ke upon m. Now the value of K is known, that is 2400, because we are going to consider that as equivalent system. So 2400 upon 10. So the natural frequency, that is circular natural frequency omega n, becomes 15.49. And simply natural frequency, that is Fn is equals to omega n upon 2 pi. So omega n, it is 15.49 upon 2 pi, is the value of Fn is 2.46 Hertz. So this is the first term, that is undamped vibration. Now we have to find out the damped frequency, that is we have to find out omega d and Fd. So for that we know the value of Ct or C equivalent. So we can find out zeta, that is damping factor. What is value of zeta? That is C upon Cc. Now C is value is known to us, that is equivalent stiffness Ce, and we know that value of Cc. Now what is the value of Cc? It is 2 square root of Km. Now we have to use the equivalent, so Ke into m, or we can use the 2m omega n also, that is 2 into m. So value of m is 10 into omega n is 15.49. The value goes same. So from that we get value of zeta as 0.247. And if we know the value of zeta, then we can find out the value of omega d. So omega d is equal to square root of 1 minus zeta square into omega n. So omega d is equal to 1 minus the value of zeta is 0.247 square into value of omega n is 14.49. So we get the value of omega d as 15 radian per second. Now from that we can find out the value of d in hertz, that is omega d upon 2 pi, that is 15 upon 2 pi, it is 2.38 hertz. So this is a simple problems in which we can find out the undamped natural frequency and damped natural frequency of the system. So this is some problem based on free damped vibration with viscous damping. So now the next topic of our lecture is the free damped vibration with Coulomb damping or dry friction damping. Now in previous 2-3 lecture, we have seen the free damped vibration with viscous damping. There is fluid dashpot system, but in this system we are going to see, in this topic we are going to see the free damped vibration or free vibration with Coulomb or dry friction damping. This Coulomb damping is also called as dry friction, or dry friction damping is also called as Coulomb damping. Now what is Coulomb damping, or what is the definition of dry friction damping? So Coulomb damping is a damping that occurs when two dry or unlubricated surfaces. It occurs when two dry or unlubricated surface slides against each other. Slides against each other means the direction will be opposite. The first direction of first surface is opposite to second direction. Now we know that Coulomb's law of friction. So Coulomb's law of dry friction, it states that when two surfaces are contact with each other, the force required to produce sliding between them is proportional to normal force or normal reaction. Normal force or normal reaction, that is frictional force. Now what is force required to produce sliding? Means frictional force is proportional to the normal force or normal reaction. That is generally we denote that Rn. So we can say that frictional force is directly proportional to the normal reaction. So Fi is directly proportional to Rn. So we take proportionality constant as mu, and this is called as the coefficient of friction. Now this value of Rn, if we consider these two surfaces are there, this is first surface which is fixed and this is second surface. So if we apply some external force, say in right hand side, so frictional force it is opposite to the external force. So frictional force is in opposite direction, that is F is equals to mu Rn. Now the normal force, it is in this direction, that is Rn, normal reaction. And the normal reaction, this body having some mass, so the weight of the body is mg. So we know that if we take the equilibrium of vertical position, then we know that the Rn is equals to weight, that is Rn is equals to mg. So we get Fr is equals to mu Rn is equals to mu W is equals to mu mg, where mu is the coefficient of friction. Now the main note to this dry friction damping as the frictional force Fr. The frictional force Fr is always opposes the motion of the body. It is always opposes the motion of the body. That is, which is opposite to the weakest motion of the body is nothing but the velocity. So frictional force is always opposes the motion of the body, or we can say always opposes the velocity. Hence, depending upon direction of motion, of the body, that is nothing but the velocity, the direction of frictional force also changes. The direction of frictional force is also changes. So the frictional force, which is constant in magnitude, because it is depends upon mu, that is mu is coefficient of friction, so it is constant. M, that is mass, is also constant, and G is gravitational constant, it is also constant. So frictional force is constant in magnitude, which is acts as a damping force because it is opposite to the motion of the body. So it acts as a damping force. Therefore, Coulomb or dry friction damping is also called as constant damping. It is also called as constant damping. So Coulomb damping is also called as dry friction damping, is also called as constant damping. Why it is called as constant damping? Because the frictional force is constant in magnitude. Now take an example. Consider a spring mass system. Simply a spring mass system. So consider a spring mass system as shown in figure with mass M is sliding on dry surface. So this is mass M. It is sliding on this dry surface. That is, it is fixed surface. Now let mu be the coefficient of friction between two surfaces, that is between mass and the dry surface. So this is our mean position. Now we will take the right side forces as positive and left side forces as negative. So this is for sign convention. So right hand side forces, it can be considered as positive, and left hand side forces, it can be considered as negative. So in displaced position, so if we displace this mass from mean position, so there are total 4 quadrants are there. For that I have drawn that figure. So in displaced position, there are forces acting. Now this is your mean position. This is mean position, that is same diagram, mean position. There is stiffness K and mass M. Now from mean position, right hand forces are positive and left hand forces are negative. Now there are 3 types of forces. One is inertia force, which is opposite to acceleration, that is x double dot. Second one is frictional force Fr, which is opposite to the motion of body, means velocity x dot. And third one is spring force, that is K into x, which is opposite to displacement. It is important that spring force, that is magnitude is Kx, and direction is opposite to displacement. Similarly, frictional force Fr and direction is opposite to the motion or velocity x dot. Similarly, third is inertia force mx double dot, and direction is opposite to that of acceleration. So the displacement x, velocity x dot, and acceleration x double dot are taken as positive towards right hand side. It is taken as positive towards right hand side of the equilibrium position or mean position, and at negative it will be taken as negative towards the left hand side of the equilibrium position. Now in one cycle, the motion of mass can be divided into 4 quarters. There are 4 quarters. So first quarter is your the first quarter or first quadrant, that is the mass, the velocity, all that displacement, velocity, and acceleration. That is, motion is also in in right hand side, and your displacement and acceleration, it is also in right hand side. Now, so all this displacement, velocity, and acceleration is in right hand side. So what are the forces? Spring force. So spring force is opposite to displacement. So it is in left hand side, that is kx. Similarly, the frictional force, it is opposite to velocity. So velocity is in this direction, that is right hand side. So your Fr is also in this direction, that is opposite to motion. Similarly, inertia force, which is opposite to the acceleration, acceleration is in this side. So all these three forces are in right hand side. So we can taken as this minus mx double dot minus kx according to D'Alembert principle, that is summation of all inertia forces plus external forces is equals to 0. Therefore, minus mx double dot minus kx minus fr is equals to 0. So from that we get mx double dot plus kx plus fr is equals to 0. Now what is the first quarter condition? The mass is on right side of the mean position. Mass is in on right hand side of the mean position and moving towards right. That is, motion is in right hand side. Now second quarter, what is second quarter? Second quarter is mass is on right hand side, same, but moving towards left. The motion of body changes. Now in first quarter, motion of body is in right hand side, but second quarter, motion of body is in the left hand side. Now because of motion of body is in left hand side, so only the direction of frictional force gets changes. So if you take the free body diagram, we can see that the free body diagram for second quadrant, only there will be changes in frictional force because motion is changed. Mass is in right hand side, so displacement is in right hand side, acceleration is also in right hand side, but only motion is in left hand side, so frictional force is opposite. So if we consider now, so minus mx double dot minus kx plus fr is equals to 0, that is nothing but the again minus signing multiply here, so we get mx double dot plus kx minus fr is equals to 0. So this is your second quadrant equation. Now what is the third quadrant? In third quadrant, the mass is in left hand side. What is? The mass is in left hand of the mean position. Mass is in left side of the mean position. So this is your mean position. So mass is in this side. And the motion is, the mass is moving towards left. So motion is also towards left. So all this motion left means x velocity minus. Now these are the in left hand side. So displacement is in minus, acceleration is minus. And what is your now k into x, that is k into minus x, then m into minus x, both are in opposite, that is in right hand side. These are because these are left side, which is opposite. Then the frictional force, motion is in left hand side, so frictional force is in opposite side. So we get the m minus x double dot plus k minus x plus fr is equals to 0. So I have multiplied by this minus and this minus to both sides. So we get mx double dot plus kx minus fr is equals to 0. This is third. Now what is fourth quadrant? Now in fourth quadrant, the mass is in left hand side and moving towards right, means only velocity is in right hand side, so it is positive because mass is moving with right hand side, motion is right hand side. All other displacement and acceleration in negative. So k minus x, m minus x double dot, and your FR is opposite to this right hand side, so minus this side. So if we take the D'Alembert principle, that is summation of inertia force plus external force is equals to 0. So we get in fourth quadrant m x double dot minus plus k minus x minus FR is equals to 0. So if we multiply by minus sign, so mx double dot plus kx plus FR is equals to 0. Now if we consider all four quadrant, equation number 1, equation number 2, equation number 3 and equation number 4. From all these four equations, we can see that the first quadrant and fourth quadrant, or first quarter and fourth quarter, the equation are similar. So that is mx double dot plus kx plus FR. This is the equation. Now you have to divide this equation by m. So we get x double dot plus k by m into x plus FR by m is equals to 0. Now this k by x is this is k by m, and again we can multiply or divide by m by k. M by k. Sorry. M by k. So m get cancelled. So it is FR upon k. So this km, so x double dot a, we have taken k upon m as constant, so it becomes x. Now if we multiply k by m with FR by k, so k cancel, we get FR by m is equals to 0. Now let take another constant, that is y, that is another displacement y, as x plus FR upon k. Now from that, now FR upon k is constant. So if velocity taken, it becomes x dot, and if acceleration taken, it becomes x double dot. That is, if we differentiate this equation with respect to t, so dy by dt becomes, that is dx by dt, that is x dot, and due to y by dt square becomes y double dot, that is x double dot, dt x upon dt. So put the value of y and y double dot in the equation. So we get, so the value of x double dot is y double dot plus k by m. Now value of y is x plus FR upon k. So km upon y. Now if we consider this equation of motion, so this equation of motion is the fundamental equation of motion, that is SHM, about y is equals to 0. So at y is equals to 0, your x is x plus FR upon k is equals to 0. So we know that this is y double dot plus k by m y is equals to 0. Now k double dot is omega n square. So this is again a fundamental equation of motion. But term is that y should be at 0. So y 0 means the value of x should be x plus FR upon k is equals to 0. So the value of x should be minus FR upon k. And your natural frequency of this part is again same, square root of k by m. Similarly, the quadrant cycle, that is second and third, are same. Similarly, in case of quadrant cycle, the equation 2 and 3 are same. That is nothing but the mx double dot plus kx minus FR is equals to 0. Now again, divide by both side by m. So we get x double dot k by m x minus FR upon m. Again, we have to take common k by m. So we get x double dot k by m in bracket x minus FR upon k. Again same, put the value of y as x minus FR upon k. So if we differentiate this equation with respect to t, we get y dot as x dot and y double dot as x double dot, because FR upon k is constant. So that becomes 0. So y double dot plus k by m into y is equals to 0. Again, this is simple harmonic motion equation. In terms of this, y should be 0. So y is 0 means the value of y, that is nothing but the x minus fr k is equals to 0. So we get the value of x is equals to fr upon k. And again natural frequency is same, that is square root of k by 2. This is your natural frequency. So if we draw a cycle for dry friction damping, so that will like this. That is displacement versus, if we draw displacement versus time curve or response of the system in case of dry friction damping. So in one cycle there are 4 quadrants. So this is from A point to this. So this is your one cycle complete. So there are 4 quadrants from 0 to A. This is first quadrant, that is pi upon 2 omega n, because total is 2 pi upon omega n. Now this is pi by 2 quadrant, so pi by 2 upon omega n. This is again between A to B. A to this point. It is your second quadrant, that is pi upon 2 omega n. This is third quadrant between this mean position to this B point. This is third quadrant, that is third cycle. And from B to this point up to mean cycle, that is fourth quadrant. Now pi upon 2 omega n, pi upon 2 omega n, pi upon 2 omega n, pi upon 2 omega n. If we get addition of all this, we get 2 pi upon omega n. This is the time period of one cycle complete. This is up to, this is one cycle. From this to this one cycle. And if you draw the diagram complete up to next cycle, so XA is your first amplitude, XB is second, X is third, then X is equals to, now there are 2 parts, one is equals to X is equals to FR upon K, that is positive side, and another X is equals to minus FR upon K, it is in negative side. So this is all about the friction damping with dry friction, pre-damp vibration with dry friction damping or Coulomb damping. Now in the part which is remaining in this dry friction damping is how to find the rate of decay of amplitude in case of dry friction damping. So that part and the problem on that dry friction damping or Coulomb damping we will take in our next lecture, that is lecture 10. So for this, I have concluded my lecture. So thank you.